Spider-Man is one of the most iconic and well-known superheroes of all time. Sadly, there just aren't many video games that do the webhead justice. So now B-Nox takes the challenge of trying to craft a good game with our friendly neighborhood hero. Yet will they be able to do what Rocksteady did for Batman in Arkham Asylum?
Hold still!
Sorry, not a fan of getting electrocuted. It really hurts. Hurts with a Z? You see what I did? Come on, that was genius.
Things start off simple enough, with Spider-Man facing off with Mysterio during a robbery. Spider-Man foils his plans of stealing an ancient artifact by shattering it into as many pieces as possible. As if things couldn't get any worse for Spider-Man, he soon learns that the fragments of the tablet have entered different realities. Luckily, there are 3 other Spider-Men that can help him recover the pieces before they fall into evil hands. The story follows a very straightforward pattern, with each Spider-Man going after a boss in possession of the tablet pieces. A good majority of the time you'll play a game of tag back and forth through the levels. It's a pretty predictable romp of chase the bad guy and see how powerful the tablet can make them. When you finally step into the shoes of Spider-Man, you might be a little disappointed. The tutorial points out many of the game's flaws in the first 10 minutes. The major issue is with the camera itself, which can make almost any action a nightmare when it feels like it. When swinging, it will close in behind Spider-Man and follow him as close as possible no matter what. Attempting to turn the camera with the right analog stick will just confuse things and whip it right back behind Spider-Man. When you're fighting off a series of thugs, the camera will allow for free movement, but it will slide like it is stuck in molasses, so it's almost easier to just try to lock on the enemies and pay as much attention to spider senses as possible. The worst of the camera issues comes from climbing along any wall. The camera will not allow you to focus anywhere else, and attempting to do so will cause a series of spastic movements as a response. If you can get past those issues, you'll have 4 different playstyles, well, not so much different in 3 cases. Amazing, Ultimate, and 2099, while having their own attack animations, aren't really that dissimilar from each other. When you're fighting as any other Spider-Man, you will pull off the exact same abilities as the others. The changes in character come in minor powerful skills like the Ultimate's Rage Attack or 2099's Accelerated Vision. It also gets a little ho-hum when you realize that each level is the same for these characters. You'll chase after a bad guy and fight off waves of henchmen until you get to an action sequence. Usually this is something like running away from a sniper as Amazing Spider-Man, or free-falling through the sky chasing after an enemy in the 2099 universe. These portions of the game come second to randomly tapping on buttons to defeat bad guys. The only real dimension with its own fighting style will be Spider-Man Noir. It takes on the Arkham Asylum-like approach to combat, with Spider-Man sneaking about and taking enemies out silently. It's actually a refreshing change of pace from the rest of the dimensions, even if it is far too hard to stay out of the enemy's sight. This is usually due to the camera or the jittery movements of Spider-Man when on walls or even when web swinging. It's hard to accurately position Spider-Man in the air while swinging, not only due to the camera, but mostly due to the stiff animations. Sometimes you'll reach an area and Spider-Man will roll out of it back into the air, where he will stand up until his animation fixes itself. Other times you'll climb up the side of a wall trying to get Spider-Man to leap over a railing, but instead he will try to go into the opposite direction. Yet the most annoying part of it comes in the form of actual combat. When attacking an enemy with web strikes, it is highly probable Spider-Man will appear somewhere else. He will literally swing towards a guy and either teleport to another part of the room or into the sky. It's an extremely irritating affair when mixed with the camera and the terrible lock-on system that you're forced to use. If you don't use it, you'll just end up bouncing between enemies and objects trying to find an enemy, with the most annoying portion of it being when you need to actually hit enemies with items, but it will continue to target the enemies, forcing you to constantly reposition yourself.
You didn't say the magic word. May I please have the...
The saving graces in this game come in the form of the graphics, with some highly detailed environments for each Spidey to traverse. They range from the heavily populated universe of 2099 to the seedy, darkened streets of Noir. It's probably one of the best aspects of the game, especially since the character models are quite detailed. The cutscenes during level openings seem more like animated comics come to life, and most of the animation is pretty top-notch when it works. The game makes excellent use of the lighting effects on the characters and the surroundings in the levels. This is also one of the only games where Spider-Man feels most like his comic book counterparts, with Amazing, Noir, and Ultimate doing a fantastic job in their roles. Amazing and Ultimate come about as close to the comical side of Spider-Man as possible.
Where are you going now? Can I come? Can I?
While Noir does a great job of being a seedier, more justice-seeking Spider-Man. He even narrates his situations like he's straight out of a detective film.
Call him Adrian Toombs. Call him Vulture. Call him whatever you want. I'll always call him the bastard who killed my uncle.
Spider-Man 2099 is the weakest of the bunch, but that's mostly the script's fault and not the voice actors. He still delivers a solid performance even if his version of Spider-Man is way off the character.
What are you supposed to be? A demonic kumquat?
To be honest, I probably had more fun with this game as a Spider-Man fan. I think I would have long turned it off if I didn't enjoy the character and the voice work. It is terribly frustrating to have to deal with clunky combat, a wacky camera, and outright buggy animations. I say if you are a hardcore fan of Spider-Man, wait until the game is below $40 in price. It receives a C- for finally giving Spider-Man a proper character, but having poorly executed game mechanics.
Oh, I just remembered. I have to, floss. I don't run away like a sniveling coward just because I was whipping your hiney.
I'm not running away. I'm just gonna go find a dictionary so I can look up sniveling.